when I wrote Profit First, I can't really wrap my head around all the financials. There's too much going on. So I try to boil it down to the assets. Then the second thing is I have a unique story. I'm an entrepreneur too, and I have my own unique background. So the flavor of what I teach is different. I think many people teach similar things. Profit First, it's not a unique idea in regards to it's the envelope system. It's something that existed in the BC timeframe,
Yeah.
but I was able to introduce it with a new flavor, a new spice, and I think that makes it palatable to people. The last thing I want to share, this was an insight just kind of hit me about a year ago. Something I said, "What's the commonality in my books? Like, what am I consistently doing?" I was like, "Oh, I think I figured it out." What I first do is I look at what's the intended outcome we want. What's the desire we have as entrepreneurs? That's who I write for. So, what
Mhm.
do we want as an entrepreneur? Then I ask, what's the methodology we follow? And then what's the result? So, want, method, result. And if the result does not match the desire, there's something wrong with the method in the middle. So, when I wrote Profit First, most people want to be financially free. I don't want to worry about money. I want to do what I want when I want. The method we follow is we put profit as the bottom line. And the outcome is almost no one's profitable. So it's like, oh, the method is wrong. So once I see a mismatch between desire and outcome, I always look at the method and say, can this be readdressed or introduced in a new way so that the method, I'm sorry, that the desire matches the outcome.
Yeah, you're a curator, not a creator. It seems for all of the things that you do, and you touch on so many problems that a lot of people deal with. One analogy that you've used that I really like the way that you explain it, because talking on Profit First is that Parkinson's law in business is like the more money that you have, the more money that you're going to spend. But why do you think that we don't put enough emphasis on profit first?
Because I think, first of all, the vernacular, the words we use, and how we rate success are both wrong. So
Yeah.
the words we use is we call profit the bottom line or the year end. In Europe, they sometimes call it the final take. All these words say last, and our behaviors when something comes last is insignificant.
Mhm.
So if you had a health scare, James, you would never say, "Oh, I'm going to start putting my health last now." If health matters to you, say, "I'm putting my health first." So what comes first gets done, what comes last gets delayed. Is I call it the manana syndrome. So for most businesses, we don't look at profit until at the end of the year and it's not there. We're like, oh shucks, maybe next year. So part of it is the vernacular. The second thing is the emotional reward system. There's actually there's companies out there, there's enterprises that recognize businesses on their top line growth. This company went from $500,000 to $20 million. Aren't they amazing? Well, the owner of the business has had to refinance their house twice. They're struggling. They work their butts off, and they've missed payroll 4 times in a row. That is a real concern. So we have this kind of top line mentality. When we pound our chest to it. It's definitely a vanity metric. I think what we need to do is put pride around profitability. You know, proud that the company has reserves to cover payroll for the next 6 months should business come to a full stop. Pride that the business is profitable, which means it's sustainable. And one insight I had around this I want to share, our clients, whoever's listening right now, your client wants you to be profitable. Now, they don't come up to you and say, hey, I wish you were making more money. Could you rip me off? But what they do say is, I want your undivided attention. I want to be your number one customer. I want the best of you. And the only way to be that person is if you're not worried about making a buck. If you're in a constant panic, you can't be their best. Imagine going to a doctor and the doctor says, I have a heart attack or something. I go to the doctor and the doctor says, uh, I'm really strapped for cash. I'm in big trouble. Let's get the surgery going. I need more patients in here. Don't touch me. Conversely, doctor number two, she says, hey, I'm very profitable. I do this all the time. My success ratio is off the charts because I focus in on this. I charge a massive premium because I get the results. Who are you going to go with? The doctor number two. I want them to be profitable because I don't want them to have worry. And that's how our clients see us too.
Absolutely. When I got into coaching, the first thing it was I got into it thinking about the income rather than thinking about helping people. And it was, well, actually it was the opposite. And as I got more into it, I thought more business minded and it turned to the opposite. And you only start making money when you want to help people rather than trying to make the money because it's like repelling people in such a way without even consciously knowing it. One thing that you've spoken about in a few books is the difference between doing versus designing. And I think for a lot of people, when they're in that phase of just getting started in something, they're in the doing, they're always doing. And that's what entrepreneurs do. We can work from all day and just never stop. How
Yeah.
can we get into the designing phase of things?
Yeah, so doing is important in the beginning. So what I'm saying by doing, what I mean is the activities that generate income or support the activity of generating income, so the
Mhm.
administrative work and so forth. And in the early stages of business, if you started the business, my gosh, it depends on you to do it. But then this perverted perspective comes about where we see ourselves performing at a level. I'm having my hand up high here.
Mhm.
And then as we bring on a team, be it contractors or part time or full time or however they come on, vendors, that team we see performing now, by my other hand, at a lower level, lower than us. So what most entrepreneurs do is they say, they're not achieving my standard. I got to push harder. And they keep on trying to pull up the team. And I think that's the mistake. I think what a business owner needs to do is extract themselves because business ownership, we got to emphasize the word ownership. It's not business doing ship,
Yeah.
it's business ownership. I actually argue when I'm doing presentations, the number one job of an entrepreneur is not to do the job, it's to create jobs. The majority of the world doesn't want to own a business. The majority of the world wants a good job with a good company, being paid well, and having a good experience. We can provide that. But many entrepreneurs intercept that. We insert ourselves as a superhero. I'm going to fix the day. I'm going to get things going. But we'll never find out where our company's homeostasis is. If we extract ourselves from doing the work, and one technique I suggest in my book Clockwork is take a 4-week vacation, physical and digital disconnect, just leave the business. The business will find its normal level. If the concept or the thought of even leaving for that long scares the hell out of you, my God, we got issues. We got to get processes in place. That day may come. You may get sick. You may be called to do something else and not available. But then let's find out where the business level's in. Once we understand what the business, how it operates in our absence, now our job is not to keep pulling it up. It's to start building structure below so that it naturally rises to the level we want. But until we can observe it, until we stop inserting ourselves and artificially have a level, we got to see what the level is. It's a little bit like playing chess. We can't be that piece that are moving around the board anymore. We have to see how the game's being played so we can make strategic decisions.
The next step of that is growing versus scaling a business. And there's a big
Mm.
difference. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Do you mind breaking that down?
Oh, I love to. So this is another thing I often do when I present at a conference or something. The greatest privilege for me is I get to speak with people afterwards, and it's not me espousing advice. It's often the reverse. It's people sharing their stories, sharing their advice, and I learn the most from that. I remember, and this happens with some frequency. I do hear a refrain though from entrepreneurs saying, "Hey, Mike, I'm scaling my business, and this is how I'm scaling it." And I listen in. I'm like, I don't think you're scaling. I
Mm.
think you're growing your business. And they kind of get this deer in the headlights look and say, well, what's the difference? Growth is where you need to put in more resources. There's more input to get more output. So it demands more people, more time, more of your effort to get more output. So growth takes more to achieve more. Scaling is about leverage. So scaling is the subtraction or the removal of components to get more. So where growth requires more input to get more output, scaling is less input to get more output. And it's a whole different perspective. This goes to what I call the designing perspective. So
Yep.
the doing stage, just do more, do more, do more, that will result in growth. And it's usually linear and it'll certainly cap at a certain time when you exhaust your resources and can't put more resources in. The only way through that, the only way to grow the business then is subtraction. What fewer things can we do more effectively, better, where there's a higher demand for it, or we can dictate a higher price point? And that's when you start seeing scaling. Great leaders, great business owners will think about the strategic ways to reduce what they're doing, avoid that entrepreneurial entropy of doing more and do less to get bigger results.